Hi, this is Arabella Gordon with 900 Songs. Now, if you saw my introduction video, you've heard that I wrote 900 songs over 8 years. Today, I'm going to talk about how I did that and not get sidetracked. All right, so in those days, I was really into making lists and setting goals. And so that kind of gives you a mindset that I was living in. I would set weekly goals, monthly goals, a 1-year goal, 6-month goals, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year goals. And sometimes I would do this every day, every single day. And some days back to back, I would have the identical list, but I never stopped writing because this is how I kept myself focused to get those things that were on the list accomplished and see them come to pass. All right, so that's the kind of mindset I was in. So in those days, I also read a book called Failing Forward, I think it was, by John C. Maxwell. Talked about a class, I think it was a pottery class in college, and they divided the class in half. So half the students were to spend the entire term and make the most perfect piece of pottery that they could. They had to spend all their hours making one piece that was just magnificent. The other half of the group, they had to make as many pieces as they could, as many as they could. So at the end of the term, it turned out that the one that did the quantity as opposed to the quality of the one that did the quantity, not only did they have the most, they also had the best. And then they made so many pots that if they made a mistake on one, they would not make it on the other, right? And just sheer force of repetition and hours molding that clay, making many things, considering many ideas, making many mistakes, trying many things, failing and overcoming, that they learned so much that at the end they had the highest quantity as well as quality. So armed with that, I set myself a goal. I thought, and when I started writing, it was 2000, I believe it was October. And I had just gotten my first keyboard. It was a rinky-dinky Yamaha Kids keyboard, and I could barely play. But I was ready to write songs because I could hear stuff in my mind, and I wanted to be able to put them on hard copy somehow. And this was way back then, 2000, where we don't have everything we have, like the DAWs, all this help where you can use construction kits or generate a sound so easily. Didn't have that. But having read about this experiment about quantity, it gave me this freedom to write a lot. It gave me this pressure and this inspiration at the same time to just crank out songs day and night. So I thought, it's October, by the end of the year, 2001, I will have 60 songs. So I decided that I would have 60 songs. So it was about a song a day because this was toward the end of October and I had 2 months to go. So I thought I could do a song a day. It doesn't have to be a good song, right? So that was my goal, 60 songs. And on January 1st, 2001, when I counted the songs, I fully expected to have 60 songs. So New Year's Day comes and I count all my songs and I have 59. 59! I said, how could I have 59? How does this happen? I would have had 61, but not 59. So I'm beside myself. And these were the days when I would have this big old box computer, and I had dial-up, People PC dial-up. It was horrible. And floppy disks. So anyway, I logged on my big computer and I looked and I counted all the songs. I had 59, and then I found a folder of another song that I hadn't yet typed into the computer. So I had exactly 60 songs January 1st, 2001, and we were in business. Right now, I'm going to tell you 5 practical things that supported me as I became the songwriting machine. And these aren't deep theological things. And afterwards, I'll give you 3 tips from different sources that really, really helped me to be encouraged when things got hard. All right, so 5 practical things. Number 1, I had these things ready. I had my computer, my big old boxy computer, but it worked. Plenty of copy paper, file folders, and floppy disks. So I would type up everything that I would write. If I had 4 lines, I was typing. And it was the title that I had so far, the date, copyright, the year 2001, Arabella Songs, or whatever my thing was at the time. And I would type out the lyrics, leave spaces in between for the chords. And I would grab one of these folders, write the title on top, and put the song inside, and any other miscellaneous bits of paper that had ideas about that song would go in this folder, so everything would be together. Please, 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 this sounds so easy, but please do this. Nobody loves writing a song and leaving some pieces there. It's so confusing, and the idea of going back for it, looking for it, you just feel so fragmented. You know how easy it is just to put everything inside a folder. I'm not telling you have to have a notebook. I'm not telling you have to do everything else. You can use scraps of paper. Just put it all in the same place. All your ideas, which are little tiny children that come together to make the song, right? Okay, so have those things ready. All right, the next thing, this is very, 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 very important. So when I started out, I wasn't a great player. I wasn't really good at playing anything. So I'll tell you more about my story. When I was little, I had some piano lessons, some guitar lessons, some voice lessons, some violin lessons, but I wasn't really good at anything. So being Korean, we are taught, well, having traditional piano lessons, they teach you how to read the ants on the page, and then you sweat it out for 2 recitals a year so your parents can see that their money's not being wasted somehow. But then when they throw you up in church and say, can you play these 4 chords, you have no idea what they're talking about, right? So if you were ever an Asian kid that took traditional classical piano lessons and wanted to play in church and were like, how do I do this? Then you know what I mean, right? So I was kind of like that, and it had been a long time since I played, so I wasn't really good at any instrument, but I knew the notes, the black keys and the white keys, and I knew the C. So I acquired this keyboard. It wasn't a professional keyboard by far. It was just like a student model keyboard that was at church, and I paid them so I could have it, take it off their hands, and I'd have something to mess with. So I had this keyboard, but the beautiful thing about this keyboard was what it did do was it showed me the chords that I was playing. So as I was writing the songs, I would I would try to sing it out, right? And I would try to play notes that I felt like would go with it. And then when I would hit 2 or 3 notes, there would be a little screen and it would tell me what the chord name was. And I go, yay, great. So if I don't remember what I did with my fingers, I just keep doing it until I get that again, and I'll know what it is. And I'll write down a G or a B minor or whatever it's set on a little screen. So having a keyboard, a kiddie keyboard, professional keyboards won't always tell you what key you're in because you're professional. You don't need that. But a student model kiddie keyboard will tell you what chord you're playing. And this was very, very, very instrumental for me. I mean, I can't tell you how valuable that was. And later on, when I began to play in church, I knew how to block all the chords just from doing these shapes, and I would see what I was doing, that I knew what to do when I saw it on a chord chart that they gave me. And it's something I couldn't do from piano lessons. I learned to do it from this little kiddie keyboard that told me on a display what chords I was playing. All right, so next thing. I had to have a place to work where I was undisturbed. So set yourself an area. If you have a keyboard or something and you have it at the foot of your bed and then you put it in the closet, I'm not saying it's wrong. I mean, we all have to live with what we have to. But even if it's not a big space, I would have a dedicated space. Now, when I teach guitar and I see my guitar students, they put their guitars back in the case and they put it away. It makes me crazy. I say, you leave that guitar out. You leave it sitting out on its stand in front of your face, right next to the TV or where you sit. Because if you put it away in its case, it's not going to come out. It's just not. Make a place for you with your guitar, your keyboard, or whatever you play to write songs with. Make it, give it a dedicated space, and that's where it stays. You just live around it, and that's the way it is. If you want to be a serious songwriter, you got to have your instrument out. And you know what? That's not all. When you get up in the morning, you turn on that amp, you turn on that keyboard, it stays on. And it's going to call you. When they walk by and see that light, you know the power's on, it's going to call you. And you're going to touch it, and something's going to happen. You'll get inspired. It'll draw you in, but it'll make you want to write. It'll make you do it. So get a keyboard. If you don't play very well, get one of those keyboards that are student models, very inexpensive, that tells you what the chords are, and power it up when you get up in the morning. Set a dedicated space for it and power it up. All right, so I did not watch TV. At that time, I didn't have cable. I wasn't interested in TV. I did not watch TV at all. So there was nothing competing with my free time for my time when I had indiscretionary free time. That's what I did. I made time to write. My free time, I wrote. And when I had other things to do, I did it fast so I could have extra time to write. So you've got to have that mindset. But here's the easy part. The goal that I set made me have to do those things to crank out those songs. If your goal for songs is less, then you probably don't have to squeeze as hard. And so that's where you can be a little flexible, but I'm telling you how I did it and how I got there fast. All right, so let's review this. Number one, I had my computer, copy paper, file folders, floppy disks, the materials that I needed to organize my songs and put them all on a place that I could save and hold. Okay, number two, I had a keyboard that displayed the chords. Like I said, it helped me when I had a line and I would be able to sing along with the music. It was inspiring and it helped me to write more. I had a place to work that was undisturbed. I had a dedicated place for my instrument and I would power it up. Whether it be electric guitar, power up the amp. Acoustic guitar, do not put it in its case. Keyboard, turn on the on power button and let that little light glow and call you. Okay, so, and I had no TV. All right, one more thing that I'm going to say is that the keyboard that I had these onboard drum patterns, and they're usually very hokey, and they're not necessarily meant for you to use the way it is. They're often sequencers where they're arranged by type, so you just extract the part that you want and you put it together, construct it to make a backing track, but they're organized in a certain way so you can find it. But if you play it the way it's organized, it sounds very hokey. But you know what? It really doesn't matter. It kept me in time. It helped me to keep my meter. Like when I was trying to see if, do these lyrics work? Are they singable over this section or phrase of music? And each line, if they had to be the same length, could I fit these lyrics in there? Or do I need to add more? What do I want to change? It helped me to try the lyrics on to make sure it worked. And as I was doing it with the music, I was learning the song lyrically, musically, and instrumentally very, very quickly, all at the same time. So consider those. If you don't have a keyboard, I would get one, a student model, and that one that reads the chords, and that they all have drum patterns now, so all of them do. So even if you are a piano player, I would still get something like that has drum patterns, because it'll help you to write and keep time, and make sure your words fit where they're supposed to, and it'll help you along those lines. So those are some practical things. So if you don't have that set up, then that is your homework. You get your instrument. Even if it's not expensive, you get your instrument, get it playable. If it's a guitar, I wouldn't get anything under $100. And we'll talk about that. If you have questions on what a good student guitar is, I'll let you know. But I would not buy anything really under $100. Especially if you're serious. You don't have to spend $500 or more, but I just wouldn't get one of those $100 ones. I just wouldn't. But you want to get something that's playable and something that works. And you want to know that if it's a guitar, that it's in tune. If it's a piano, it's hopefully it's in tune. If it's a keyboard, it's always gonna be in tune because it's electronico. So make sure you've got your instrument and a space set up for it, and get ready to write those lyrics and type those lyrics out. And although I didn't say it, it should go without saying, y'all should be keeping a notebook next to your bed, because you're going to get inspiration at night, and you just want to reach over, turn on that little lamp, and write down everything so you don't lose it. And I promise, the better you get at writing things down, the better you will be. When you wake up in the morning, you'll remember it. When you see it, even the melody that you dreamed will come back to you. So you want to go ahead and keep a notebook beside your bed, where you can tear the pages to put in your folder. So it can be the same notebook. Just carry it around with you. So if inspiration strikes, go ahead and write it down. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the takeaways. Like I said, the mainstays that kept me on track. All right, so number one, I knew that if I wrote a lot, quantity would equal quality, because I heard about it in that experiment. And that's surprising to some people. I think, we hear of like a great classical composer, they spent like their whole lifetime doing this one piece. Now we're living in a different day. We're talking about writing a lot of songs. So if you've never written a song, the chances are you're going to write one amazing song. It's kind of far-fetched. But yeah, you are going to have to write a lot of songs. So I want to talk about writing a lot of songs and how to make the idea of writing a lot of songs freer and more fun for you. Okay, so another story that I remember, I read in a songwriting article, and it was about a songwriter. I think he was in the 50s or 60s, and he had written those hits, those hit songs from the 50s and 60s. I guess at one time he wanted to quit just like anyone else. But when the reason he didn't quit was because he had this one idea. Just somebody told him, write for the trash. So what does that mean? Write for the trash. So sometimes I think we go to write a song and we immediately start to judge it. Is it good? It's not good. It's embarrassing. I mean, I really don't want to write another song where I love you, my love is true. If you don't love me too, then I would be so blue. And gosh, please don't write that song. But if you write that song, you wrote that song. So this is the time to write those songs. I really kind of believe that there's a critical mass of, pardon my French, but a critical mass of crap that you write and you write and you write and you write a bunch of crap. And then when you hit this critical mass, like gold or oil starts coming out. And so to some degree, that's going to happen. So if crap comes out, just write it down. Just write it down. Just write it down. Because you'll learn something from it. You'll have gotten a melody from it. You'll have gotten some kind of a meter. And tomorrow or the next week, you'll put better words in it. Okay? But still write it down. Remember, quantity will equal quality because of the sheer force of repetition and forcing of the skill, application of skill many times over time will equal great skill. So even if it's crap, write the crap. Just make sure that you are doing everything else. Document everything. Follow all the good things to do. Write it down, type it out, put it in your folder. This is your journey. So 10 years from now, when you look back, you go, what a crappy song that was. But you know what? Like they always say, a journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first one. You wouldn't have written the great song you wrote last week if you didn't write that crappy song 10 years ago, right? So don't be ashamed of your crappy songs. You don't have to share your crappy songs to everybody. As a matter of fact, when I heard that bit of advice, I was like, yeah, great. I'm just going to roll it up and throw it in my wastebasket. But of course I didn't. It goes in here and it goes in a box full of many hundreds of folders. But I didn't throw them out. But in my heart, I felt like I could be free, because if it's not good, I'll just throw it out. No one's going to see it. It's not going to embarrass me. I'm not going to win a Grammy with it. It's not my livelihood. I'm not going to live or die on it or by it, right? So feel free to write. And remember to go ahead and write the crappy songs. Get them all out. Get them all out. You're going to tap deep, and eventually gold and oil, diamonds will come up. Okay? So that's one. Write for the trash. Next thing, let's see. Okay, so something else is kind of along those lines. When you start to write, there's this little voice inside you go, ooh, don't do this. Ooh, change this around. Oh, it would be better. And sometimes this editor inside knows, but sometimes this editor just needs to shh. So just write. Just write. Write it. Don't change it. Don't change it. Write it. And after you write it, then do what the editor says. Because that way you'll have the original inspiration, what came out, and what the editor is saying. It'll all be there. But don't change what you were going to write and write what the editor's telling you. Write what was just flowing out of your pen and out of your heart. And if you want to edit it later, you can edit it later. Okay? So don't over edit, because it might, often does, kill your inspiration. Okay, so don't kill your inspiration. Sometimes when you look back on this piece, you'll take that inspiration and you'll make it into something golden. But if you beat the inspiration out of it and then put it down, and later on you look at it, there's nothing there, it's dead. So keep that inspiration, write that inspiration, okay? All right, so this is something else I do, write without stopping. And I said it kind of just a minute ago, but it's something that Julia Cameron wrote a great book called The Artist's Way. And if I were to take a poll of all the famous songwriters, artists, authors, actors, musicians that use this book to create, it would probably be a who's who, and it would just be shocking. But this book is a book that we read over my program at Bethel. And she tells us to do this thing called morning pages, where every morning you get a notebook and you just write without editing your thoughts. Just 3 pages, just write. Whatever crazy thing that pops up in your head, you just write, and you don't take your pen off your paper. Oh, I didn't. So until you're done with the 3 pages. And it helps you. It helps you to not only overcome the editor, but it helps you to just clear out stuff. You've got so much stuff rattling around in your head and in your heart and inside your belly. You're contemplating all kinds of stuff in your soul and your spirit. And, when you start to get all these random voices that haven't been addressed or confronted out through this line, then sometimes the important things that remain very, very apparent and evident. And it makes it easy to write something really great, because all these miscellaneous random voices have been addressed and silenced and cleaned out. And every day we pick up crap like hitchhikers. They stick to us, and we go through life, and it gets on us, and we get hurt. We have feelings, we have opinions. So all those things, when you pour it all out, like in a device called the morning pages or something like that, then you've got a lot of good stuff that was buried underneath the crap coming up, right? So writing a lot of crap and writing something like morning pages accomplishes the same thing. It helps you to get into a rhythm of that you write, because you're a writer, and also to purge the nonsense, so you can get to something very, very valuable. Okay. All right. So the last piece of advice that I'm going to give you is this. This is a professional piece of advice, and I heard it maybe that first year, 2001, when I would research songwriting articles. There weren't many at that time. But one was rewrite, rewrite, rewrite. No matter how good you think the song is, rewrite, rewrite, rewrite. If you love it, it's your baby, rewrite, rewrite, rewrite. Maybe you rewrote it. But go back and rewrite, rewrite, rewrite. So this is just the way it is. And I knew going in, like if I went to Nashville with the song and they're just going to say, we're going to take your baby, we're going to hack it all up, make a Frankenstein and put something else in there. It's going to be like, oh my gosh, don't, you're killing my baby, right? My song. But it's just part of the business. You have to rewrite. Sometimes we get attached to sections, lines, melodies, phrases, rhymes, and it's just, sometimes we just have to let it go. So know this going in, that even when you think you're done, you may have to rewrite, and it's just part of the business. But nowadays with these YouTube and all these methods and platforms that original songwriters and independent artists can put their things out in so many ways. They don't need a label or an approval from the label or the management or anything. So if you write something and you don't want to rewrite it, you don't have to. You don't have to rewrite it. But it still is a part of the process. Even if the rewrites aren't demanded upon you by some other entity that has your money or an interest in it, even if it's just you going, hey, I can do this better. I can do this better. And as long as that voice that says, I don't think it's done, you're going to rewrite it. You're going to rework it. And it's great. This is part of this is just another part of the process of becoming excellent. Oh, let me finish telling you how I did that 900 songs. In 2001, I decided that I would make my song quota be 10 songs a month. So 10 songs a month is a lot less than 30 songs, which I did the past 2 months, right? So 10 songs, but these songs couldn't just be a little poem with a melody. It couldn't be 2 sections. It had to be a Nashville format. Introduction, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, tags, ending. And usually had 12 chords to 30 chords in a song, and often had 1 key change in the bridge, and it would return back to the original key. So those are the parameters. That's the requirement I set for myself. And I needed to have it all typed up, a complete chord chart with all the words, with the copyright information, with the lyrics and the chord symbols on top, and a file folder for it, and typed up, ready to be shared by paper or ready to be played for somebody else. So back then we used, 4-track Boss 4-track tape decks, so I had one of those, and then I had a little sound system that I'd set up, but I was making cassette tapes. So I would make a basic recording of music and I would sing along with it. And so if I lost the papers, I'd be able to replicate it. And I started making copies of those songs so I could submit copyrights, which I submitted maybe 2 copyrights a year for those 8 years. And each copyright had maybe 10 to 16 songs times 2 a year. So these are like the best of the best that I made demos for. But my goals, again, for January, February, March, April of 2001, and for the following 8 years was 10 songs done a month. So in 1 year, it's 120 songs, and I stopped writing maybe the middle of the 8th year. So if you multiply 7 times 120, and then take 120 divided by 2 for the 8th year, and add all that up, and the 60 songs that I wrote, 950, 980 songs, something like that. So that's how I wrote those songs. Made a demand on myself, and I picked a number, and I gave myself room to work, and I turned the power on and just expected something to happen, and it always did. But I had to do the part that I had to do for the song to come. Now, in the next few sessions, we'll talk about where songs come from. And I don't want it to sound like, oh, songs come from nature, songs come from, a nice time that I had with a date, or my falling in love, and songs do come from that. But I'm going to talk more about maybe more mystical reasons, ways that songs come from dreams, or sometimes there are songs that come just lock, stock, and barrel, all done, and land right in my lap, and I just feel like I'm recording something. And there are songs where, gosh, we're working so hard to make this line fit. We're working so hard to make the next line come. We're working so hard to give birth to this song. So there are songs that just downloaded into you, and then there are songs that you labor for, and then there are songs that come from ideas, different sources. So we're going to talk about that. But your assignment for the next 3 days is to write 2 sections. So each section has to be 4 lines to 6 lines, and so one should be a verse and one should be a chorus. You don't have to know which one's what, but 2 sections, same song. They're going to go into the same song. So 2 sections, same song. And if you want to put some melody to it, you can either put melody to it and chords to it, or just melody to it. If you don't know how to put chords to it, you can ask me and I'll put chords to it for you. You sing it to me and I'll tell you what the chords should be behind it. All right, so work on that, okay? 2 sections, 1 song, get a title, and get like a copyright 2024. What do you want it to be? So you want to go ahead and how are you going to copyright yours if you were to register copyright? And so you've got your name, right? Written by Arabella Gordon, copyright 2004. And you've got the title of the song, right? And if you can figure out what key it is, it's in the key of D. And then if you know what the chords are, D, B minor, G8, whatever, and then you got your lyrics, okay? 2 sections, 4 lines and 4 lines, or 4 lines and 6 lines, 6 lines and 4 lines. So 2 sections. All right, have those done, and then we will talk to you next time. All right, folks, I hope that was helpful. I wanted to be more comprehensive than just glossing over things, because I know that this is something that, this is an approach that I don't see a lot online, where we really get to the heart of the matter and we break down the early stages. I think it's so easy for someone who's professional, has done it, and talk about what they did, but not to remember how it was at the beginning. But I remember how it was at the beginning. It's not easy. It's weird. It's hard, and it's fun, and it's exciting. And in order to walk someone else through it, I have to walk the first steps with you. And I am. And it's awesome. And I'm going to do it too. I'm going to do everything that I'm telling you to do. So I will see you next time. You have your song. You get yourself some folders, and you type out your lyrics, put the title on top, and you have your folder ready next session. And we'll talk about where songs come from and the inspiration. All right, folks, this is Arabella Gordon with 900 Songs. If I was wrong about the John Maxwell book, go ahead and correct me in the comments. If you have anything you want to tell me, or anything you'd like to talk about, a topic that you'd like addressed, or a question, I love it. I love it. I teach best when I'm asked a question. So let me know if there's something I can answer or talk about. All right, folks, I'll see you next time. This is Arabella Gordon. 900 Songs.